Greetings and salutations, my friend. I'm going for a bit of a Halloween vibe for this video, so it's a little dark and spooky and red. Very, very, very red. Because red is the color of blood, and Halloween is all about blood donations. I don't know where this is going. But I can tell you where this video is heading, and it's going to get a little political. And despite this dark vibe, I think the message of this video is rather hopeful, because the last time I touched on the subject of politics, which was last month, I think it was a bit of a dark video, and I think I want to offer a bit of a bright look at the future, which I think is something we need. You might have come across certain videos of people saying they're leaving the left. And now that is a phenomenon that has been happening for quite a long time. I have talked about it previously on my chapter back in 2023. However, I think we are seeing a new wave of the leaving the left movement. And there's a lot of it on the internet.
I used to think that the Progressive Party was the party of empathy, compassion, progress, wanting to help those in need, and morals. But over time, I started to see a lot of contradictions and cracks.
But I've grown really tired of the performance, the fear-mongering, and the refusal to have real conversations. I don't want to be here to scream or cancel or shame somebody into agreeing with me. I believe that we need to listen to each other even when we disagree, because change doesn't happen in an echo chamber.
The left has become a party of complete hypocrisy. People that I thought respected me and saw me as an equal showed me their true colors, that they either treat me as something special or as a stereotype.
I just came here to announce my official divorce from the Democratic Party. And you're talking to a guy who's been voted Democrat since I was 18 years old.
I've seen a couple of political commentators and influencers on the right talking about it, how the left is done. You know, people are leaving the left. But I think there's more to that than what meets the eye. Now, I think this new wave of being fed up with the left, at least what it represents currently, has also been largely fueled by the recent assassination of Charlie Kirk and the reaction of some people on the left to that event, which I covered in not my previous video, but a video before that. And I'm thinking, yeah, well, it's understandable, it's reasonable, but at the same time, while people claim to leave the left or the Democratic Party, we're also seeing a bit of a different development that isn't talked about as much, at least to that extent as we talk about people leaving the left. And that is people becoming increasingly fed up with Trump and the MAGA movement, including from people who have previously would have called themselves part of MAGA. And while some leftists love to say things like, well, it's too late now, you have already done it some damage. And I think this is so counterproductive. I think we should be happy that this is happening, but unfortunately these people, they crave negativity like vampires crave blood, keeping up with the Halloween theme.
I'm going to dive into the steps leading up to, and then what it was that finally pushed me to decide that I was no longer Republican, no longer conservative, and break up with Donald J. Trump and the entire Make America Great Again train.
Mr. Trump, see this? I was your supporter. I was your supporter. I used to love you. I used to vote for you. I used to believe in you. But don't you dare give any of my money. Don't you give $20 billion of our money to the leader of Argentina so that he can just give it over to Netanyahu. Now, listen, you. You need to start doing the will of the people, not what you think. You are becoming a dictator, and I'm telling you that right now. You are not doing what you said you were going to do. You say you are, but you're not. And you're dragging feet. You're dragging your feet.
As a Hispanic, I voted for Donald J. Trump. Dude, I regret it so much, man.
I was with Trump for 9 straight years. I'm disappointed. I'm very disappointed in Trump right now.
I see dead people being fed up with the right as much as I see people leaving the left. This includes people who say they leave the right, but also people who still identify themselves with the right, who think of themselves as conservatives, but who separate themselves from MAGA and from Trump. Honestly, I see as much criticism directed towards Trump coming from right-leaning people as much as I see it coming from left-leaning people. These include tariffs, inflation, react to Trump's rather aggressive immigration policies, ICE, but also stuff like not living up to the promises of exposing the Epstein Files.
We're having the most successful 8 months of any president ever. And that's what I want to talk about. That's what we should be talking about, not the Epstein hoax.
Which makes Trump look like he's involved and was just lying to his voters to simply get their votes, something that Trump has been doing quite a lot. Now, if you ask me, I think Trump is a very disingenuous person. I don't think he actually believes half the things he says, but he knows his voters will buy into that. Because I also see Christian voices that separate themselves from Trump because they think that what Trump stands for is not compatible with their faith and Christianity. Since I live in Norway, let me give you an example that is very local for me. The editor of the largest Christian newspaper in Norway has recently said this in a debate at national TV here.
Det var ting der som var dypt problematisk, og det mest problematiske var jo verdens mektigste mann, USAs president, som står fram med et helt motsatt, jeg vil si nesten antikristelig budskap, der han sier at jeg er uenig med Charlie Kirk, jeg hater mine fiender, jeg ønsker ikke noe godt for dem. Det fullstendig imot kristen tro, og det også en av mange grunner til at jeg skeptisk til Donald Trump.
He did not hate his opponents. He wanted the best for them. That's where I disagreed with Charlie. I hate my opponent. And I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry. I am sorry, Erica.
Enemy love is the great test of love. If love is to will the good of the other, as other. If I'm loving a friend or I'm loving someone who's an ally of mine, I love them and they're going to love me back. I'll be kind to them, they'll be kind to me back. I don't really know for sure if I'm loving them. Am I willing their good or am I willing my good through them? But when it comes to an enemy, someone that doesn't will me any good, on the contrary, they will ill to me. Well, if I will their good despite that, then I really know I'm willing the good of the other. So that's why it's central to the teaching of Jesus. It's the test of love.
So what we're seeing now is people leaving the right, but also people who are sort of want to enforce what the right was before the Trump, what Republican Party was before Trump. And I like to call it healthy conservatism. And I think that we do need healthy conservatism for a healthy balance in society. We need people with progressive views and we need people with conservative views. I think that they both keep each other in check from going too far, and I think there's been a lack of both healthy conservatism and healthy progressivism. And it is actually documented right now that Trump is losing the support of people who have previously voted for him, for people who consider themselves on the right, conservatives or Republicans, you name it. So what we're having is people leaving the left, people leaving the right, and are they simply switching teams? I think something else is happening, and it is not something that the media reports about, so a lot of people will have no idea this is happening. There are very, very few articles that actually talk about it. I think that one was written by Julia Manchester. It talks about the rise of independent voices and independent voters. So those people who leave the left, right? The political commentators and influencers on the right, they want you to believe that they are becoming, they're joining them, that they're now becoming part of MAGA. And I don't think that's the case. I think they're going somewhere else entirely.
I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican either, but I'm not a Democrat. And I just noticed, like, certain things, like the way that the conversation would be shut down by calling somebody a name or calling somebody a bigot. It's like, okay, and why am I a bigot just because I disagree with you? Like,
and sure, some of them will lean more towards conservatism, but when they do that, it's a lot of the time just a matter of time before they move more towards moderate positions, because they were moderate in the first place. Now, previously, I think we had a huge wave of people who were leaning more radically to the left. There was a kid trick-or-treating right now, and I felt a little shitty because I don't have any candy or any chocolate. Good. And so I couldn't really give him anything, unless, you know, he likes tea. Anyway, where was I? Right, so I think previously we had a wave of people leaving the left who were coming from a more radical direction of the left. Activists who were sort of fed up with their organizations. What I think we're seeing right now is those are not people who are coming from that radical part of the left, but they're also not the classical Democrat types like Bill Maher, which has left the Democratic Party for quite some time now. It's been years now. What we're seeing right now is people in between them, you know, people who, yes, they lean left on a lot of social issues, but they're not that radical, and they're actually disliking what the left has become. It's a case of advocating for violence or really like enforcing their beliefs on other people. Those are people who are very liberal, actually, but they're just more moderate in that sense, and they're not going to thrive in MAGA. They're not going to thrive in what the current Republican Party has become. Some of them will go there, and but it won't last long, trust me. And the same with people who are leaving the right now. Those are also those people in between. A lot of them are also classical Republicans, and I think we need the Republican Party to go back to what it was in 2000s. What it was 20 years ago. I would like to see that. But there's also those who liked Trump before, but who are getting fed up. And what we're actually seeing now is a lot of people who share something in common, who come from different political sides, environments, but who are sort of fed up with both sides right now, right? Because a lot of them right now, they're not taking their activists on the left seriously anymore. Nobody takes them seriously anymore. But they're also fed up with Trump. And so, as things stand now, I don't think the future looks very Trumpian. Because you know, I see people on the left all the time saying like, the wave of fascism is coming. I think that Trump is sort of living his peak days right now. That whole movement is living its peak days, sort of like wokeness had its peak days back in 2019, 2020. And trust me, it's gonna fall. It's not gonna be long-lived. And actually, because there's a rise of independent voices, people who feel like they want to separate from the Democratic and the Republican Party, this sort of poses a problem for the state, for the next election, because what do they do with those votes, right? Well, you sort of have to convince them to vote for one side or the other. But I'm thinking if we really want to see a change, we need to get together, or, well, not me in my case, because I'm not an American citizen, I don't live in America. But for Americans specifically, those moderates who are fed up with both sides, there's a need for alternative. And you know, I think we can get along easily. I'm considering myself as someone who's moderately left on social issues, very close to the center, and I have a lot in common with moderate right or center right, who have those views on social issues and values and culture. I have more in common with them than with many radicals on the left. And the radicals on the right, obviously. And they also have more in common with moderates on the left than they have on the more radicals on technically their own side. And I think, yeah, we can get along. We can absolutely get along. And there is a need for a movement. I think there's a need for to create a political party to counteract what the Democrats and what the Republicans have become. Because without it, they're going to continue radicalizing each other with no end and hating on each other. They're both fueling this culture war, and if we want to change that, there's a need to actually make a change, make a movement. Let's get together, you know, because a lot of those people who are leaving either side, they're now independent voices. And not that long ago, actually, I saw a video from a YouTuber, Misha Petrov. She was a voice I always appreciated. Now, do I agree with Misha on everything? No, but I think she was always one of the more reasonable voices on the right. And seeing that she actually sees the issues with the right, I'll leave the link in the description if you haven't watched that video. I recommend it. And trust me, a lot of those people who are leaving in the left and the right now, they're feeling what Misha is feeling. This is exactly what's happening.
What's funny is that my core beliefs have not really changed at all, but once again, I am watching the right shift dramatically in a way that's very similar to what I saw happening on the left. So you hear people say, oh, I didn't leave the left left me. Okay, so we have to talk about the right. I'll be generalizing a bit because there are differences with people who identify as conservatives, as Republicans, as just being on the right, as leaning right, and same goes for the left, liberal, Democrat, the whole thing. I have noticed some patterns, and they feel extremely familiar. I've had this realization that so much of what we say about the left, specifically the far left, you can say the exact same thing about the right, specifically the far right. Now, that is not really a surprise in itself because the horseshoe effect, you know, I'm sure we all know, but there are specific things that still have surprised me throughout the years. Because I've been around a lot of self-identified Republicans, conservatives, I think it's worth comparing all these different spaces, especially right now, when it's becoming clearer how they mirror each other. Now, one of the main things that pushed me away from the left originally, right, was this pressure to label yourself. If you were surrounded by progressives and didn't identify exactly how they wanted, it's suspicious. You're not one of us. And it actually doesn't matter who you are, your background, your experiences, you're bigot. You don't agree with everything the left is saying? Yeah, you're literally not a human. You were shunned, instantly branded a traitor. Now, does the right do this? Yeah, but in a slightly different way. It's like this unspoken script that you have to follow. Even if you don't claim a side, even if you literally never label yourself a conservative or Republican, people are like, what? You just said something, it sounds woke? You sound like a liberal! And the world keeps turning. It's the same thing I experienced on the left. Wait, but you sound like a conservative. And so what? It's like they can't even imagine someone having a different opinion. But then I hear the same thing on the right, in real life, in a professional setting. And not in like a lot of liberals would agree with you here. No, it was like an insult. You sound like a liberal. Guys, deja vu. So yeah, the one of us mentality, this tribalism, it's the same message a lot of the time, but different vocabulary.
The reason why I think that creating a counterparty to what we're seeing, and for this party to thrive and to actually win the next election or elections, I think there's another good reason why that should be done. And this brings me again to Epstein Files. I think that the Epstein Files, even unreleased, expose something very disturbing but also very important. It's that Democratic Party and the Republican Party, as it is, at least at the top, you know, they're not really opposed to each other. It's at the lower levels that people are fighting, but those people at the top, you know, they're equally as corrupted, and they're equally as against the people, and they're evil, you know, because what else do you call people who go to that island? Neither of them want those files to be released, you know, they are going to protect their own interests. And at this point, I don't think it's just a recommendation. I think it's a necessity that a third party steps in that wishes to pull them away from that position of power. While it disgusts me that such people exist, it's also not unusual that the darkest types are also drawn to the position of power, since it also allows them to commit unspeakable things. At the same time, it also gives me hope that people are becoming more aware towards how the system, the state, actually supports people like that to be in those positions of power. And this brings me to the next topic I wish to discuss. Do we even need the state? Now, I'm not advocating that we should abolish the state right here, right now, through any means necessary, because that would only lead to more death and suffering for many individuals. And while I'm an anarchist, a lot of my viewers aren't. And it was always my intention to make content for free thinkers and independent thinkers, not just necessarily anarchists. And there are people in my audience who will disagree with my anarchist views, but I really want this particular video to lean a little bit towards anarchy and how I think we should proceed. Because while I think that creation of third parties that go against the established polarized sides right now is a necessary movement, I also think that at some point the state and a democracy as it works right now will no longer be sufficient. My biggest issue with democracy as it works right now is that people have a power to, through voting, to make decisions for other people. Right? Now, let's say you like more conservative policies, or you like more progressive policies. Through the democracy as it works, as of right now, you have a right to elect a representative that is supposed to represent all the people, right? But that's bullshit. Nobody can represent all the people. That is just impossible, because people are not a monolith. There are very, very diverse groups, right? And so when you see people who are like, Trump is not my president, Biden is not my president, well, I think they should have a right to not live under the rules of those elected leaders, you could say. Through a democracy, we are allowed to enforce beliefs on others. Let's say, you know, you think people should have a right to abortion. I have no issue with that, nothing whatsoever. But when people claim that doctors should be enforced to perform abortions, when it goes against their personal beliefs, and I see people who claim that those doctors should lose their jobs if they do not go with it, that is actually a direct attack on their individual rights. And I think that that's sort of the danger of democracy. And if somebody wants to have representatives that are supposed to represent their will, I think they should have a right to do that. But also, I don't think they should inflict that on absolutely everyone in society. And a lot of the conflict we see between the right and the left, as of right now, is sort of a result of that, because we're not just groups with different beliefs, different policies, different cultures at this time. The left and the right are very different cultures as of right now. There's not much they share. But if you think of people in different country who have a different culture, but who don't pose a danger on your culture, who do not wish to abolish your culture, you see differently, right? You will visit this country as a tourist, you will respect their culture, their customs, although there are some really nasty tourists out there. But for the most part, you will just see people who have a different culture, people who think differently than you, and you don't hate them. You just see them as different. That's all. But in a system where one of these groups can inflict their views, their culture on yours and try to destroy yours through a war of sorts where both sides want to win, that's when it becomes nasty. What does it have to do with the state? Exactly. Well, democracy is the tool of the state. It's the tool of the state to make people fight each other, to inflict this domination, ideological domination on each other, instead of actually gathering in communities where people consensually subscribe to share those beliefs, or who consensually subscribe to elect representatives for themselves, but not for everyone. On top of that, I have another issue with the state that is sort of my main argument in this video. I think that during the time of both American Revolution, French Revolution, and so on, when a lot of people, a lot of countries were abandoning monarchy or absolute monarchy, because we still sort of have symbolic monarchy and countries like Norway, UK, but it all has largely been replaced with the government. But I think there was one major mistake that they made, something they overlooked, and to me it seems like a very, very obvious thing, but that is the separation of responsibility from power. There are two ways to look at the relationship between power and the abuse of power. Some people believe that people get corrupted by power. Other people believe that people who are already corrupted seek power. In practice, I don't think it matters which of these views is correct, because the end result is the same: people in the position of power being corrupted. So when I say that I envision a future for myself where there is no government, there is no state, I think that, instead of just abolishing it and then leave it to people to organize themselves, I believe in a bit of a different brand of anarchism. I think that the government should be replaced with a different institution. And the main differences between the current form of the government and my proposed institution is that, one, people are elected to positions of responsibility without having that power aspect attached to it. There are no power or financial benefits to taking that position. It's a voluntary position, but I also think that people should have a right to sort of elect or recommend people for that position based on what have they done for society. Do they have the character traits to take that position of responsibility? The second difference is that those people who are in position of responsibility are not intended to represent the will of the people as a whole, but rather those people who specifically choose to follow them or support them in some sense. Now, I think there were some cases in the past, some treatises that sort of touched on that. I think Rousseau in The Social Contract, he attempted to place the position of power in people rather than in the state. He wanted to give the state executive function, whereas the people or the general will of the people had the legislative function. However, this still implies a democratic element that enforces policies on others. And that element of power wasn't really completely eliminated in Rousseau's vision of an ideal state, if you could call it that. So those are my thoughts, and I think this type of solution will allow people to live in communities or cities where people sort of share the same idea of what their society should look like, and where nobody like enforces their policies on them, but they're also working in cooperation with other people who have other views on how society should work and who live in other communities and cities, but they don't have this sort of antagonistic relationship with each other because they don't enforce their policies on each other. But there are a lot of things and issues that they can work on together as a nation or a larger group of people. This also ensures that there will be no corrupt people in positions of power, because there is no position of power, there is just a position of responsibility. Anyway, those are my thoughts on this subject, and I think it might be the most important video I have made on this channel. I don't know if the YouTube algorithm will agree, and a lot of the time when I make videos, I don't make them with an intention. I want a lot of people to watch them, you know? But I really hope that this time YouTube algorithm will agree with me, because I think this is a video people need to watch, and I think a lot of those of us who have separated ourselves from the current mainstream left and right, we need to get together, we need to form a movement. Anyway, happy Halloween! Oh, it will probably be past Halloween by the time I upload it, since it's Halloween on the day while I'm recording. Well, yeah, you know what I mean. Anyway, have a good time, a good day or night, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.